TYT Sports, everybody. The Blue Crew, Denise Jones, Jayar Jackson. More on the NBA fight so far. Heard around the league.
Yeah.
It's been. I feel like it's been a week and a half now. It was over the weekend, a week and a half ago. Between Rajon Rondo of the Lakers, of course, and Chris Paul of your Houston Rockets. Not yours.
Yeah, not yours either.
But most people's. So of course, there's fallout still happening. Rajon got 3 games. Chris Paul got 2 for their part in the fight. There was spitting. There was denial of spitting. There was a cut.
Brandon Ingram got 4.
Ingram got 4 for starting the whole thing by shoving James Harden in the first place over a apparent flop call.
That was actually, it's the best. If you haven't seen it, I'm not sure if it's GIF or GIF, however you say it, but it's literally the best thing on the internet right now. It's like Brandon Ingram just like pushing the ish out of James Harden in the best way. He was like, it took a lot of force.
Did you see there was a voiceover of the entire fight, comedic voiceover of what each guy was saying? I didn't send that to you.
No, man.
Send it to you today.
We're not real friends, I guess. That's all right.
It's because you didn't know I was a Laker hater. Oh, so there's more you're learning about me every day. So from the fight, of course, Rajon Rondo gets asked questions. Chris Paul gets asked questions. Chris, of course, was talking about how he gets a chance to see his daughter's tennis match finally, so it's a nice little respite. The beginning of the season.
One way to look at it. He lost a bunch of money, but no
it's a lot
way
of money
to look
he lost.
at it.
But Rajon Rondo was asked about it with ESPN. He was talked about, and he wants to talk about the problems with CP3 and his pristine characterization amongst the league and amongst the media. So from Graphic 16, Rajon says, of course the NBA went to his side because I got 3 games and he got 2. Everyone wants to believe Chris Paul's a good guy. They don't know he's a horrible teammate. He went on to say they don't know how he treats people. Look at what he did last year when he was in LA. Again, the fight that the Clippers had with the Rockets, of course, not the Lakers fight. Trying to get to the Clippers locker room. They don't want to believe he's capable of taunting and igniting an incident. So after this came forward, people started asking. Chris Paul's played with a lot of guys. Let's see if we can get some, well, not even, people weren't even asking, honestly, a lot of people. He had his issues with Blake Griffin and everyone, but I want to move on to graphic number 21, you guys. Ryan Hollins was one of these players that played with Chris Paul in LA. And Ryan Hollins is also, I think he's an analyst with ESPN. So he said he played with him for seasons. Alex Kennedy tweets this. He asked Hollins what he thought of Paul as a teammate, given the recent negative comments from Rajon Rondo. We're gonna get to Glenn Davis. He has some growing to do. Everything that glitters ain't gold. So there's another chink in the armor. On to the next graphic. Here is where Glenn Big Baby Davis came. And he played with both Rondo and Chris Paul. Right. Of course, played with Rondo in Boston. He played with CP3 in LA. I played with both of them. CP3 is a very bad teammate. That's all he has to say. He was responding to an Instagram post. I don't think anyone specifically asked Glenn, but apparently he rubbed him the wrong way enough for him to just come forward on his own. We'll skip past David West, of course, played with him with the Hornets. Chris Paul, moving on to number 24. He said, the way people perceive him, he said, that can be the gift and the curse of who I am, but it is who I am. So he's considered one of the leaders. He's a prototypical point guard who will get you fired up, who will get you the ball, and be who he is. Right. Let's check out a few things people had to say. I want to move on to the video number E2 of these, you guys. About Doc speaking about the rift that happened between Rondo and CP3, if he's ever seen it. He coached both of them.
Did you know about this animosity between them?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. I'm not actually sure what it's all over. I know at one point they both wanted to be known as the best point guard, but it's got to be more than that. You know, there always is, and I don't know what it is. But no, there's no love lost.
So Doc Rivers knew about it. Maybe it's just about being the best point guard. Maybe it was nothing personal, which we talked about in previous videos about the actual personal nature of it. But Kenyon Martin talked about his experiences. He was a fiery guy.
Right.
He talks about what type of player Chris Paul could be and if it could potentially get on his nerves as well. Let's see what he had to say.
When you're in the game situations and it's always like of course you expect your coach to be that and you expect your point guard to be vocal, but when it's too much all the time, every game, like it starts to become like a nagging aunt or your grandmother or something. And you're like, then you want to just, man, shut up. You know what I'm saying? But in the heat of the moment, you can't do that. So then it just over time, year in, year out, it's the same thing. Year in, year out, it's the same thing. You know, so for some people, by the time the playoffs start, you like,
you don't hear it.
And one last wrinkle to this, which Marcellus Wiley pointed out, which is the one that probably is going to carry a lot of weight because Marcellus Wiley, former NFL player. We're going to see one more aspect to the why. Chris Paul's not the first nagging, over yelling player at his teammates.
Right.
What's the difference? Let's see what Marcellus had to say.
Here's the thing about Chris Paul, and he's not the only one guilty of this. I will defend him, even better than Daryl Morey will. He's a barker. Now, he's not the only barker in the NBA. Kobe Bryant was a barker, and no one liked playing with Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant was a 5-time champion that made you swallow your pride and take that barking and the bite that came with it. Here's Chris Paul. Chris Paul's a barker. But on that same team, when you say it's time to swallow my pride and just deal with this, oh, wait a minute, you ain't won jack. So you over here barking, and I don't see the bite. And that's where it comes from. I've been on teams before when we're all, like you said, it's about business, professionalism. You're saying all the right things. You sound like the Mamba mentality, except you ain't got the Mamba hardware. So that's when everybody, when they get to their safe distances, and everyone who said that he's not a good teammate, I like him. They're cool cats, but they also are safely away from Chris Paul when he was barking at them on the baseline. And now everybody wants to come back at him, and no one could come back at Kobe and others who bark but have the championships to go with it.
Tell me. You've dealt with barkers. You played ball.
Of course.
Everybody's barkers.
Like
you may have been one of them. Who knows? I don't know what type of player you were. I talked to Gary Payton. He said he was rough on his teammates. People love Gary Payton. But who knows? Maybe some people didn't. Is there any truth to all this?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I feel like it just kind of goes back to the whole, there's two types of players. There's players that just want to get through the season. There's players who actually want to win. There's players with expectations. So I'm not really taking a side on either one. I feel like both players might have their differences. For all we know, Doc could be right, and it just could be a whole, like, you know, we play the same position. We want to be the best. So it's just like not, you know, friendly competition, but it could be, and I don't know if I want to use the right word on this, but it could be healthy for the game in the sense that you're raising up the competition. Sure, CP3 was suspended for 2 games, but he was also fined the most amount of money. So let's also take that into account. It's not necessarily like, oh, he's sitting down for 2 games. No, he's losing a little under $500,000, and everybody else is losing, like, what was it, like Rondo sitting out for 3, he's missing out on $186,000, and Ingram sitting out for 4, and he's going to lose $158,000. So Chris Paul is losing $491,000 with 2 games. Sit me out. So he's making the best out of it. It's 2 games. It's a lot of money. He's losing the most money out of this. I don't think anyone did it with the intention to get fined, to get suspended. I really don't even know whose side to be on as a Laker fan. I'm not going to automatically take Rondo's side, but it is interesting because you've seen footage where he did spit, but I don't know what initiated that spit that he threw. Because yes, he did. It's not news. It's not breaking news. He did spit at Chris Paul's mouth or in his face or whatever. But what did Chris Paul do? I don't know. What initiated that? What got Rondo so pissed off to have to do that? And then you have Chris Paul, you know, putting the finger at his face, and then that's when Rondo swung, and that's what started everything. But it's interesting to just go back to your question. I feel like this is good for the game. They do both play the same position. They're 2 very competitive guys, and like, you know, Marcellus said, like, there hasn't been an actual bite from either one of them. It's kind of just been a lot of chatter, and some players get tired of a chatterbox. They get tired of someone constantly being on their ear, constantly telling them what they need to do, what they didn't do, what they should have done. It gets annoying. Sometimes you just have to trust your teammates and let them do what they do. And maybe, for all we know, Chris Paul's such a talker that he had this coming for himself.
But, you know, I don't like, I believe Marcellus Wiley is right. Because we hear Shaq talk about all the time, anybody from the old school days especially, about who's won championships and who hasn't. If you have won a championship, you have nothing to say to me. People are going to always ridicule Karl Malone, even though the man scored all those damn points,
of course.
Right? But they're always going to ridicule him because he never won a championship. The Reggie Millers, the Patrick Ewings, all those guys, right? Charles Barkley's. So, and it's like what they hang their hat on. You didn't win a championship, so you can't say anything to me. There's lots of guys who have won championships. Can they say anything to you? I mean, what? Mark Madsen won championships. Can he say anything to you? No, he can't. But that's
he can in the sense where all he has to do is show him a ring.
Mark Madsen? That's what I'm saying. Guys like that have won rings before. Look,
I get it.
Glenn Big Baby Davis is an NBA champion. Am I right? Didn't he win a championship?
He did.
But nobody's gonna say, hey, Glenn can walk up on me and say, you better get your ass back on defense or else I'm gonna do this, this, and that. They can be like, you ain't Kobe.
You're right.
There's a caliber of player. So, yeah, sure. I used to like the guy. I used to like to play with the guys who would make the other team mad. And if I was playing against him, I would hate him.
Right.
But he's on my team. So until we switch teams, I'm cool with you being an a-hole.
Right.
I'm okay with that. Where we're getting a crossover now is CP3 apparently is like that across the board.
Right, he's consistent
with his teammates and opposition. And apparently Kobe was too. So the biggest difference is Kobe's won some championships. I'm sorry, man, I'm not the type of guy. If I'm playing with a guy like Kobe, cool, I respect that you won championships, but you ain't gonna talk to me like that.
No, it's not.
Weird.
I understand your point, but as unfortunate as it is, yes, sometimes all it takes is, I'm not saying that Big Baby Davis is better, is better than CP3, I'm not saying that. But I guarantee you, all he has to say is, I have a championship. And that is gonna just rip or stab CP3 really hard because he doesn't have that yet. And it's not necessarily—
He can say that to Chris Paul?
It's not necessarily, no, he could say that and it's not gonna be a factual statement, but I guarantee you that's gonna get under Chris Paul's skin. The fact that he doesn't have that. And you know what makes the difference between a Chris Paul and a Kobe is the fact that aside from the championships, Kobe was able to get the chemistry going with his teammates and facilitate a championship. With all the trash talk, with all the taunting, both with his teammates and with his opponents, he was able to get not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 championships.
I mean, the biggest battle.
And Chris Paul hasn't showed the people, and I'm not saying me, I'm not anybody, you're not anybody. He hasn't shown the people that he has the leadership capabilities to get a team to communicate and get a championship done, unfortunately. It's not his fault. You know, he has, it's not that, I'll tell you, Kobe had a better, he was surrounded by better players.
Yeah.
It's not Chris Paul's fault, it's not Karl Malone's fault, it's not Reggie Miller's fault. It's just an unfortunate situation. And yes, when you're talking this much and you don't have anything to back it up with, the fight is a lot tougher.
Right. The buzzsaw
is a lot tougher.
The buzzsaw that Chris Paul has run into recently is the said Golden State Warriors, similar to like Ewing ran into the Chicago Bulls. You know, a lot of people ran into Jordan and the Bulls, and they never won a championship because of it. There's only one guy who's broken through that, LeBron James, once. So, you know, Chris Paul isn't LeBron James. So that's one of the main things. And, you know, last year was a chance.
Right. But you know, just to so I can get this point in, Rondo said, okay, look, everyone thinks he's this good guy and he only got suspended 2 games. That's, again, the most important part is he got fined the most amount of money. So, Rondo, let's sit that one down
I think the good guy narrative is out on Chris Paul. It's been out for a while.
Yeah, no one thinks that.
Yeah.
No one thinks that.
When they call him gritty, they're not saying he's a good guy. They're saying he's an old school guard like an Isaiah Thomas. Just saying.
People say he's probably a nice guy off the court, and you know
he seems that way.
He seems like a nice guy.
He doesn't. It's just
seems like he lives a great life,
right? It looks like his kids love him.
He does,
and he's really attentive.
He looks like he takes pictures with fans.
Absolutely.
At a restaurant while he's eating. Yeah, that's a nice guy. That's what nice guys do. On the court, maybe not.
Nice guys apparently don't finish first. Like, subscribe, give us your comments. Is Chris Paul dirty? Is he a bad teammate? Is Rajon Rondo actually just trying to ruin and sully his pristine image? Let us know. This Laker fan here. See you later.
Do you know what you could get for $4.99? Maybe 1 pack of Skittles. You know what's better? A lot of content. So download the TYT app, available on iOS and Android.